teas also give you explosive diarrhea?
No, but they do help maintain your virginity. Okay, what else we got? We got stonks. Let's talk about them.
Sorry, Scold. I'm trying to make out what that trader in the background is saying. It sounds like there's some good plays.
Oh, sorry to everyone now watching on the streams, YouTube, Twitch. I just fixed the audio issue. Thanks for your patience.
Calls on explosive diarrhea.
What? Oh, that was like, you mean crayon diarrhea?
From the mouth.
Explosive.
Oh dear. Okay, all right. What, is that a lead into talking about some biotech companies?
No, we're long on Beyond Meat, clearly.
Ah, that makes sense.
So here's the thing. Jim Cramer said that we're seeing signs for a bullish market, but guess what? That's not true at all. Look, it's 8:37 a.m. We only got 350 people here. That is not a bullish market. This is a bear indicator. That guy's an idiot. This is, the bond yield curves are inverted. If you needed another piece of data other than the number of people on a WallStreetBets chat, there's 2 data points for you. And what do 2 data points make? A line. That's what's up. It's going back down.
You can't argue with a line. Every data point on it fits perfectly. Question? Yeah, that's a good question. Why do we only have like 350 people in here? 370 people.
Because they hide. It's harder and harder opinion to find the chat or find the talk.
Sorry for interrupting, but I was just say the way I found it, because I couldn't find it on WallStreetBets, is I went to Opinion is Unpopular's profile, and I just followed him and went to new posts and I had to scroll past the sticky one, and I found it. It said tune in. I felt like I was late, and here I am. So yeah, if you're having a little trouble,
I think people were partying a bit too hard on MLK Day.
No, it's true. It's hard to find. It's hard to find the talk. It took a while for it to show up in the WallStreetBets subreddit.
Yeah, I'm also talking to a couple of other people, who host on their own subreddits, and it looks like they're all faced technical issues over the weekend, where notifications probably aren't going out, which means that it's probably pretty insane that we have 400 people here checking my profile. A little bit creepy, to be honest.
I mean, I just sort by new in WallStreetBets and it pops up at 8:30. It's pretty easy.
Yes, I'm gonna just.
I don't know who you are.
Well, for the people who are here, do you guys have any plays for us or any trades that you are in or usually answer?
It could also be that a lot of the listeners are down 10% this morning for some reason.
Some unknown reason. Could be anything.
Well, we'll see how much I'm up with my puts.
I just want to say I had Tesla puts 140 when it was at 200. I had Facebook Meta puts at 120 when it was at 220. And I had Newegg, and I thought Newegg was a lemon. I was like, man, I finally missed on one. And then it pumped. It went to the moon. It's a 12-bagger for myself, multiple bagger for some other people. That was just ridiculous. I called that out here on our pre-market chat on 12/13, I believe it was, according to my notes. The first time I mentioned Newegg here. So if you were in, good. It might continue pumping Monday and Tuesday, but we'll see. Or it might continue pumping Tuesday, Wednesday, but we'll see. I'm already out.
Very nice.
I think your wife's calling you.
I think Skull Jr. is very upset with that trade.
I hear that too.
Yeah, she just keeps yelling school day because we're stuck behind a car accident here. I don't know what these people were doing. We're just over here on the highway. She's yelling school day. She wants to be at school.
They must have been checking their portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. With stocks down, people buying calls thinking there's a bull run here. Did you guys hear the good news from Jim Cramer today? What'd that idiot say? Go ahead, Teddy, if you want to go ahead and let them know.
No, I didn't check in on him today. He did couple days ago say we're headed for a bull run. Now's a good time to get out of your cryptos. So we know what that means.
He
Always
said
trust
that, and then
Coin
crypto
base to
rallied
the
even
moon?
harder. I like how he said that, and then crypto rallied even harder than the stock market. That's classic Cramer
Yep.
right there.
Listen, every time Jim isn't wrong, he's right. So just keep that in mind.
Dude,
Very
I
true.
thought that, and when I first was really getting into stonks, he had this thing called Cheniere Energy, ticker LNG. They do natural gas shipping. They're like one of the largest natural gas shippers and one of the oldest natural gas shippers traded. And had I bought it, had I held onto that stock, it would have taken me a decade and a war in Europe to get back to break even on that stock.
Wait, did he have you going in at the all-time high?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, a new all-time high was recently posted, but yeah, I mean, it was legendary. I bought it, and then I was like, I'm not listening to these people anymore. That was 2012, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that it was. Oh, wait, 2012, dude. You missed out, or actually, no, I think that was when it IPO'd, right?
That's right. Yeah, he was like, "Here it is," and so I went in on the IPO, and then gosh, it just didn't get
No.
back up
Best
there.
time to invest in that would have been probably around 2014, because I think it got down to like $5 a share at one point. When I was working on that project, it was like $20 a share, and then it ballooned after that.
So my takeaway from this is if Scald hadn't been paper-handed, he'd have made money on that trade.
But you also got to consider the time value. Had I listened to Cramer, it would have taken me almost a decade to be back up again. I'm pretty sure I can do better than that day trading.
Nope, all I hear is you should have held. That's all I'm hearing from this.
So it looks like we have some pre-pumpers for the morning. If anybody wants to discuss those, Silvergate, Capital, BBY, the list goes on and on. What about Baba? Surprised we're not talking about that stuff right now.
Yeah, so now they're owned by China, or what? Sorry, can someone explain to me what's happening with Baba? I'd like to know. Inquiring minds. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Jack Ma recently said that he's stepping aside and letting the Chinese Communist Party take over running Baba or something. There was this press statement made, and I don't fully understand the translation from Mandarin to English. I believe something might be lost, but what's going on here? Does anybody know what is happening and why Jack Ma is making these kind of statements?
Sorry, I don't follow Chinese stocks. I just avoid because things like this can happen.
Yeah, the Chinese market on Monday it finished off. It was pumping in the first half, and then after the lunch break, it started to go straight down. And then just a minute after it closed, it ended green. So it jumped a bit and ended green at the last second. But today the Chinese market is down. I think it's down 0.77%. So I actually don't know what's going on with the Alibaba stuff. But yeah, that's what I can say about the Chinese market. Yeah, I think it was due to economic data. So they've been pumping so hard since October 31st. But since the economic data has shown that they haven't grown by that much, they've kind of retract a bit and recorrected. So they're a bit red because of that today. But about the Alibaba stuff, I'm not aware of it.
Well, they said specifically that the economic growth was 3%, which is the lowest it's been in decades. Normally they're around 6 to 8%, so it's about they've had about half the economic growth. But all in all, I don't think that's that bad. I mean, we're targeting, to put it in perspective, the U.S. is targeting around a 2 to 3% growth in GDP year over year. So them dropping down to 3%, I don't see that as being that big of an issue. I think as they continue to open up and get over COVID, I think the Chinese stocks will do all right.
Well, I just saw that Ryan Cohen has bought Alibaba, so clearly it's going to 1 million, and that's all the DD I need. I'll be buying every share that's available.
Another thing that just happened, there was some data that came out that their population declined for the first time in 60 years. That's bad for a nation whose main resource is having a fuck ton of people, right? That's sort of their main deal. That's sort of their shtick. So that's not a good look.
They still have a fuck ton of people. I mean, they got 1.4 billion people, so they're people-wise, they're 4 times the size of the United States. Dropping the population by 850,000 when you got 1.4 billion is a drop in the bucket. Honestly, that's like a rounding error. I think the media is making more of that.
Of a problem is what it is. It's because
the media,
this is 40 years of one-child policy getting ready to catch up to them.
Yeah, well, they've changed that now. They can have up to 3 kids, and the government's good with it.
So they've changed it now, but how long is that going to take? And now that you have the possibility of having 3 kids, how many people are going to do that in a country that's becoming increasingly materialistic, and they want to dote on that one kid? So you've created a pattern and just a culture of having one kid and doting on that kid, making them think that they're better than every American out there, which, I mean, half of them are right probably, but still.
Well, I mean, they still have, I mean, their middle class is, probably around 400 or 500 million people. So they have a huge middle class. They have an even bigger lower class, and then they still have hundreds of millions of peasants that they can benefit from economic growth. So, I mean, again, I think a lot of this stuff with the population in China, when you're dealing with that many people, I think some of this is being a little bit overblown by the Western media. It might be a problem for like China might look at it as a problem and that they can resolve over time, but I don't think it's going to be a showstopper for the Chinese economy.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring the white elephant in the room, they do have a male to female ratio problem. So there's a lot of more males than females, and a lot of females are actually moving overseas. So yeah, there's a big issue there. Obviously, if you want to keep it in the family, if you may. Furthermore, I would say that the issue really stems from just not only for the child population issue, but also with the aging factor. A lot of older people obviously are passing on, and so they need to fill that gap within some respects to keep their GDP alive. I would also add Jack Ma has actually been living in Tokyo for quite some time, since December. Some argue November, and he's still over in Tokyo. So he did pass on the reins. There's a suggestion that he's just painting and collecting as time goes by. But yeah, the CCP does own any Chinese company by law. It's just common sense. If you start a company in China, you automatically have to work with the CCP. I would ask you guys to brush up on your CCP law to understand that mechanism and how does it contribute to the GDP. But obviously, as with any government agency, no matter where you're from, there's corruption, and yeah, I digress.
What? Corruption? Never.
Well, you did hear about the Japanese government sending all their money to the Korean church, right? That was quite surprising. Can you imagine paying your taxes and then realizing to go somewhere else and then get paying more taxes just to pay their salaries? But I digress.
Okay, guys, what other plays we got? We touched on Newegg, Bed Bath & Beyond we touched on. Do we want to talk more about Bed Bath & Beyond? Do we got anyone here or anyone in the audience who thinks it's going back to $20 a share? Please raise your hand. I'd love to hear from you.
of course, doing my firsthand research because that's very important for market-related things. I went into a Bed Bath & Beyond this weekend to get some shower curtains. While the shelves were quite barren, I did talk to the employees there, and they assured me that this particular Bed Bath & Beyond had no plan to shut down and intended to continue operating. So, yeah, bullish. Dude assured me that it was going to keep on going. So I think we are set, and that is some firsthand information. A little friendly story, I should say. Friendly story. Let's keep it fair.
I was waiting for you to say, and you drove by this morning, and they were closed. Like, I was waiting for you to finish that story.
I will say the shelves were like shockingly very. It was clear that like it was half stocked to what it should be. And I like to the point where I literally went to someone and I was like, "Are you guys having trouble getting inventory, or is like this place shutting down?" And the guy was like, "No, we're just having trouble getting inventory. We're not shutting down." But it was apparent that like they closed off sections and put up walls to make the store look smaller and stuff. It was pretty bad. Also, no sales, so there was that.
Was there
No
like a
sales,
long line? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that is interesting. Do they have like the 20% off coupons that they usually run?
I was actually surprised because I was assuming that, you know, they're in trouble and everything would be on sale. But other than like a couple products that were at like 70% off, I guess they were just getting rid of it. Pretty much everything was regular price and their normal expensive price. And yeah, it was weird.
They are still sending out the coupon books. I think my wife got one in the mail the other day that had the 20% coupon on the back in a flyer.
So the good news for investors and the bad news for consumers is that retail chains have gotten extremely good at liquidating inventory, and they usually even just farm it out to liquidating companies that get the absolute most value out of whatever inventory they have. So that's become a very efficient process. It's fairly lucrative for whichever liquidating company can win, the contract with a dying retailer. But you know how they usually do it, where they slowly mark things down. So I wouldn't anticipate any huge deals until they're really almost done. But yeah, if you're an investor, that's great though, because that means that you're taking out every penny of revenue you can out of whatever inventory you have. And in turn, what that means is if you're trying to value a company and you look at, how much inventory it has on hand, you can take that with a little bit less of a grain of salt, as opposed to for retail companies, even if they're, getting closer to liquidation. Whereas if Bed Bath & Beyond is close to liquidation, but as opposed to, having to do your own kind of due diligence on what you assume the actual true inventory value is, or what the recoverable amount is.
And I can definitely say, at least for this store, unlike your Walmarts and places like that, they are not suffering from too much inventory that they can't get off their hands. So that's a bullish viewpoint. They definitely don't have too much sitting around. That's good.
Is that still an issue for Walmart? So just a little recap is that back during the pandemic, there was big stories going around about how Walmart had too much inventory, but of all the wrong stuff. And so
that's not a Walmart issue. Walmart doesn't own the inventory until the barcode passes over the barcode scanner at checkout. While it's on the shelves, it's still owned by the vendor.
I'll be fair. I think that was a Target issue, to be fair. Target was the one who said they had purchased the wrong inventory. So they had a bunch of stuff, but it was the wrong stuff that they picked.
Right.
I'll take a look around when I go to work today, but I haven't seen too much stuff. And actually, at least my store, they've done a decent job of trying to clean up the hallways and that. I'll look and see if there's any shipping containers in the parking lot.
Yeah, I thought I was under the impression that Home Depot was one of those people that had a little too much supply. They ended up ordering a whole bunch of snow products, and that was the reason for their, I guess you would say, oversupply, for over expectations, for their snow products, which is quite weird because they had a big problem in the East Coast with the snowfall
not
this
just
year? Go ahead.
not just snow products. Anecdotal evidence. I go into Home Depot a lot because we use their stuff for construction. And shortly after Thanksgiving, they laid out all of the boxes and stuff for Christmas gifts in the middle of the aisles. That people the popular stuff that people buy for Christmas for their friends and family. And after Christmas, a lot of those boxes were still there. Like usually they're picked over and there's nothing left. But this year it's like all that stuff seemed like nobody'd even touched those things that were in the middle of the aisles. So it's not just snow stuff. I think they over ordered on all the inventory that they were expecting to sell for Christmas and they didn't.
I can say a few months ago I went to get air filters for the furnace, and they were like $12 a filter, but if you bought 10, it became like $7 a filter. So there was definitely a push to get people to like take handfuls of it out the store.
That's a great deal on furnace filters.
I got so many.
Okay.
It looks like Roblox is pumping up right now. They came out with some new code, and looks like the market likes that kind of news. It's currently up $38 $38 from their $33 close on Friday.
You mean it's up to $38?
Yeah, sorry, it's up to $38 right now and 21 cents, and it closed on Friday at $33.21.
Okay, yeah, just making sure that they weren't up $38. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That would be like, holy crap.
Not yet,
apologize.
but when that happens later, AF's going to have to apologize for leaking that information. So keep that in mind.
So let's talk about Hasbro real quick. 70% of Hasbro profits come from their Wizards of the Coast division. Their Wizards of the Coast division makes geekery such as Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. However, you'll note that these games are typically played by people with physical objects like, a pencil and a character sheet or a deck of cards that you purchase from them. And the new CEO of Hasbro said that he would like to add a loot box style model to Dungeons and Dragons, which on its surface doesn't make any sense. And the more you think about it, the less sense it makes. So I guess the real question is, does this guy actually even know what business he just became the CEO of? And if he doesn't, bearish movement ahead. What an idiot.
Yeah, why would you do that to a D&D? I play D&D often, so that makes no sense to add a loot style to it.
So
well, this is the second CEO in a row that Hasbro's had that doesn't appear to understand their core business, right? Like literally what they sell. So it's like, what do you mean add a loot box? You realize this is a game that people play with dice, right? Like it's not on the internet even. So I mean, it just bodes poorly, in my personal opinion, for the company's near future, and we'll see what happens.
So what are the
Someone's gonna
pros
eat
and
that apple.
cons? What are the pros and cons of a loot box? Enlighten us a little bit for us non-D&D players.
There's
There
none.
are no pros, but because here's the thing is like you basically make up your whole story and scenario. So there's really no way to introduce a loot box into D&D.
Yeah, that's like offering a freaking Joker card. They're like, what the hell is this? It just makes no sense.
So if we're going to talk D&D, I think the big elephant in the room that I'm surprised didn't come up is the proposed changes to their open gaming license. I think that's probably the bigger Hasbro story for that particular entity. For those who aren't aware, the open gaming license is something D&D had way back in the day that essentially said if you make a D&D or D&D derivative product, as long as you don't use our specific name in it, you're free to like use our stuff. You can use our rule set. You can use most of the creatures that we have and like their stats in the monster manual and stuff. Just don't call it like official D&D stuff, and you can do it. That's how things like Pathfinder came to be. And they're now looking to modify that to say if you actually make over $700,000, you are required to pay a royalty to Wizards of the Coast, regardless of whether or not you're using our name in your product. And so that's a potential legal battle that probably won't pass, but also the fans of D&D are not particularly fond of the notion.
And how are you going to track that? How are you going to track that?
Well, it seems to be targeted to entities like Pathfinder, which is another tabletop RPG that uses a lot of the rule set already built into D&D. Think of like Words with Friends on Facebook is essentially Scrabble, right? They use the word rule set, they just give it a different name. That's kind of how Pathfinder is. And now Wizards is trying to make like a retroactive change of, hey, actually, we're not cool with that anymore, and they need to start paying us because they're using all our rules.
And there's two things that bode poorly for them in this scenario from a corporate standpoint. One was they already tried this lawsuit in 2014, and it was dismissed by the California judge. And the California judge basically said that if you ever come back in here and try this shit again, you're going to get a legal smackdown like you wouldn't believe. And it's mainly because of the licensing dispute, right? Imagine if you had like an open source software license and then all of a sudden you try to close source it. Well, I don't even know how you would do that. But people in the programming community would lose their damn mind. And like that's essentially what they tried to do. And they got a legal smackdown. They're trying to do it again. They were already warned not to try to do that again. Again, this division is 70% of their profits, but mostly it comes from Magic the Gathering, which is a card game, not the Dungeons & Dragons side. But we've talked a lot about Hasbro. What else we got?
I wanted to chime in real quick on loot boxes and specifically just games in general. I have a little bit of so the reason why you've seen so much move to that is just because on the business side, obviously it's incredibly profitable. The problem that they're having on the corporate side is generating enough money to cover the actual creation of games. The cost to create a AAA game now is so expensive. It takes years and years and years of developments. It takes years and years, tons and tons of people, and then you buy the game once. And so you have a push from a corporate. I mean, these are for-profit businesses. They have to find a way to generate money monthly, not just a one-time sale. And a game like D&D, who everybody bought years ago and is just upgrading their dice, is upgrading they buy a new dungeon set or whatnot. They are trying and searching for a way to generate new income, because otherwise, at some point, if you're not growing, you're dying. And you're seeing it everywhere. They've done it to Magic the Gathering, and they've pissed off a whole bunch of people because they're saying, "Hey, this set is $1,000." I mean, it's absurd, but you have people that are still going to buy it. They have to generate more profits, or else they will at some point. I don't know if they're going to go out of business, but they're searching for ways to generate new dollars. Is essentially what they're trying to do. And they're not the only one. They've done it in Diablo. Every gaming company, Diablo, Magic, Counter-Strike, PUBG. Now, a lot of those places, when they did it, they get nixed because countries that they are dominant in don't allow that. So like PUBG was huge in China and Korea, and they said, nope, can't even play PUBG. Counter-Strike got banned. The boxes got banned. You can't pay for it anymore. Yeah, there's some legality issues with it regardless. So I think it'll ultimately probably fail in the way that they are envisioning it, as I buy a box and I roll to get gear. That's not. I don't think it'll present itself in that manner, but they will find a way to nickel and dime you somehow.
Yeah, they will try to sustain those profits. I have to say I'm bullish on Blizzard Activision ever since a few months back someone here said Diablo Immortal was super addictive. And so I downloaded it with the express intent of not spending any money on it, and then I ended up spending $7 on it. I was like, God damn it, I got to buy some calls on this garbage now.
There you go.
Calls. I mean, they got me. So...
Well, that's the model, right? You make it free to play. You get as many people as humanly possible into the world, which then is like economies of scale and network effects. The more people that are on it, the more people that want to be on it, and then the more people that get good at it, the more people that also want to get good at it, and that's the model that they're trying to move to. But to do that, they have to nickel and dime people every, they need monthly reoccurring revenue essentially. So you're either going to do a subscription or you're going to do however you want it, $7. If they could get $7 a month out of you, I'm sure they'd be okay.
Are they doing it where like you can buy upgrades and that make it basically a pay to win, or are they doing it like Fortnite where you're just getting skins and dances?
No, it's straight up pay to win, dog.
Yeah.
Just you buy stuff and you get stuff.
Yeah, Diablo moved to a pay to win model. I believe the last and Diablo 3, they went to a pay to win model where basically if you pre-bought the game, you spend $150 instead of 40 or whatever it was, and you get a gear set that was incredibly strong. Yeah, the auction house there was all kinds of ways that you would pay to get far superior stuff than the folks that are grinding it out. Doesn't mean you can't get the stuff that's being grinded out, but it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I think there was a Twitch guy that spent $30,000. I don't know if anybody else can remember that, but there was a guy on Twitch that spent, I think, $30,000 buying everything that he could to get the best gear set possible. And he was like, "This is what your company has done to you."
So what other plays do we got, guys? We got about 30 minutes left. I mean, we can keep talking about gaming companies if we want, but I don't know how many other are publicly traded. Most of them are owned by Tencent. We can talk about Tencent. Let's talk about Tencent.
The only gaming company
These are
I really
Chinese
like
companies. Oh, are they publicly traded?
Yeah, Take-Two has the GTA franchise, and they also have a couple other things. But again, GTA is built. It's kind of like Roblox for adults, right? Other than it's a world that you live in, and you can essentially generate income. You basically have a life. So you get people immersed in this world. And when the new GTA comes out, it's going to be interesting to see how much they can generate, what kind of buzz they're going to get. So that's the only one I like.
Yeah, they're coming out with a new one, right? GTA 6 or 7?
Yes.
Something like that. I don't know. So what do you anticipate the effect on that stock price being? Positive, right?
I mean,
But
it's going to
what do you think?
depend
Anything
on
like a 5%?
Yeah. No. If it does well, it'll be probably one of the most lucrative games that have ever come out. It has a huge following, and people have been waiting and waiting. I think it's been like 9 years, maybe 10 years since GTA 5. And if, again, it's a big if they do it well, you could easily see it go back up to like the 150s, maybe even closer to 200. It generates so much money. If they could get a new player base and keep that player base, their online world is what it's all going to be about. And they've had some leaks and shit that have knocked the price down, but it's really just a waiting game at this point, right? You're waiting for that franchise to release a new one and to see how well it's going to do. So, I mean, I don't know how quickly they'll give the numbers on it or when they're going to release it, but it would be smart just to wait and see what they come out with in terms of release numbers, how many people are on it, what they're generating revenue-wise, because talk about a profitable way to do it. You generate, you create a little digital item and you sell it for $5.
But when is the time to enter this trade? You're talking about wait until it comes out and everything is already known? Like, I feel like that's too late.
That's a safe play, right? Yeah, you could gamble on 100%. I mean, it'll have a bounce back. Like every stock in America will have a bounce back if they're a good company at some point. I mean, everything's going down. So the question is just, can you get more out of this than you can buying it, the S&P? And I'm not going to tell you yes or no. Do your own research, but odds are it'll have a nice pop if it does well. I don't know why people would start buying it. Why would people jump back into this until at least news comes out? Either they're going to release it, say, hey, the date's going to be this, that. I mean, I don't even know when the date it's supposed to come out at. I think it's later this year, though. Maybe Q2.
GTA 6 is slated for late 2024, early 2025.
I just Googled it as well. Yeah, it's still a long way off, boys. So, yeah. I mean, dangerous.
I'm curious. Does any of the Bed Bath & Beyond put holders, are they on here? And how are their positions looking this morning?
I haven't been able to look at it because I don't have access to pre-market, but I'm thinking it's going to be pretty good. I have $2 puts that expire Friday.
Well, your puts don't, or your options don't update necessarily after hours most of the time, so that you won't even be able to see it until market open.
I knew that. Sorry, I'm just with the. To me, you can look at the stock and obviously you can extrapolate what's going to happen.
I'm expecting that my contracts will go up a couple cents.
Most Silvergate's up almost 14% after missing their earnings this morning.
I went in with you on the Bed Bath & Beyond puts with the strikes of $1, $2, and $1.50. Looks good for one of them.
I got $2 puts that expire Friday, and then I got a 50-cent put that expires, I think, February 17th.
I know. I copied you exactly. I copied you actually when you were talking about it.
I respect you guys so much for getting 800% IV puts. Just truly, like, I clap for that.
Well, actually, when I got that 50-cent put, it was before it freaking like bottomed out. And then
I think it was like 150 that morning, if I remember, because you're like, I just bought this. I'm like, you did what? Like, I just riff and raff, man. It's not all DD here for me. It's
Well, it's like I bought
that
$1 put in December basically as a joke, and then I'm like, hey, maybe I'll hit that, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm at 300%. And so I have a more reasonable expectation on this $2 put. I think it's gonna come crashing down this week.
I did want to point out that SPY is at a delta neutral. So I'm of the opinion this most recent rally has come to an end. So I'm looking to short a good chunk of the Qs, or the stocks which make up the QQQ index, and also any other Web 2 companies, most notably Airbnb. They've been particularly hurt as a result of this, of the increase in fees in their attempt to become profitable. A surprising number of short-term rentals were vacant over Christmas, so I'm sure this is helping them. I've also been posting posted today's Wrinkle Brain Plays down in the comments. I think the tax loss harvesting buybacks are winding down, so hopefully the turbulence that we saw the last 4.5-5 weeks has gone away.
Well, Hardy, it's been a slow day, so you can actually read those out if you want to.
Oh no, I insist. Feel free to read them out later day.
All right. I aim to please. So we have CCL February 17th, $10 puts for 45 cents or less. ET February 17th, $12 puts, 23 cents or less. DraftKings February 17th, $12.50 put for 55 cents or less. XBI February 17th, $87 puts for $2.75 or less. And Roblox February 17th, $30 puts for $2.15 or less. Those are his Gamma Max cross plays. Delta neutral, you have Apple February 17th, $130 puts for 325 or less. Ford February 17th, $12 puts for 30 cents or less. Snap, we got February 17th, $9 puts for 70 cents or less. PFE February 17th, $50 calls for 55 cents or less. And MPW February 17th, $12 puts for 45 cents or less.
I love how surprised you sounded when you said calls latter day.
Oh, I'm just like put, call. Mash, you have our Toddstrology update for us?
Oh yeah, big red dildo in the sky. The star stream is going down, down, and the moon is smiling like a little bitch because it's got an extra star stream in a downwards trajectory, predicting more downside in the future. Hopefully we get a bullish day sometime this week, but it looks like a big no.
Well, I agree with not having bullish price movement ahead. This is the biggest bull trap I've ever seen. What else we got? Oh, Hardy's joined us since I left. Hello, Hardy.
Good morning, Scald. We're back to having wrinkle brain plays now that the buybacks as a result of the tax loss harvesting seem to be slowing down.
Did I hear correctly that you guys had previously talked about a put on Carnival Cruise Line?
Yes. What's interesting is, aside from the fact that they're approaching their Gamma Max, or rather Gamma Max came at the price, they're having trouble, it appears, filling ships in the near term, 3 to 6 months. Just try to do any bookings and look at the number of staterooms available. I've been setting up tools to scrape various travel booking web APIs so that I can see the capacity of various sailings. And as fun as the fun ship is, fewer and fewer people seem to be able to afford it.
Well, let's see. Last week, I've been buying Carnival Cruise Line and then writing a covered call option and then getting called away. That happened last week once, and then it happened the week before that once. It's I don't know, it's interesting because I don't think they're going to go out of business, but also they're not producing good numbers. We figured that they will. So it's an interesting predicament because it's on the rise. I figured that it can't just
Yeah,
continue.
that rise may have more to do with the market tides than with its own wake.
Yeah, so VIX hit its pre-pandemic low last week. Bitcoin's over 21,000. You could call it a risk on appetite to be generic about it, but so all the things that have been losing or have been seem to be, earnings in trouble or not earning anything that were beat up in the previous 10 to 12 months have got that bid that he was talking about the last 5 weeks that we've been in. And last week was probably the crescendo, hence why he sees the overall market as neutral. Sorry, not to put words in your mouth.
Not neutral, but I did notice that SQQQ also touched delta neutral. So
delta neutral. Thank you. Sorry, I don't want to misquote.
Of course. So I'm probably going to look into medium-term calls, maybe 6 weeks out.
And that was going to be my question: was the duration? Are we going to be short-term, long-term, or you're just looking how the numbers line up? but it speaks to more like a few months out then, not weeks.
Well, remember, this is just inferred from other market participants. So if they're all agreeing the price should be at one of these important levels, I pay attention because usually someone knows something I don't.
Thank you.
Yeah, I realize the microphone quality is probably crap. I'm not at my usual computer today.
All good. Just wanted to let you know.
Maybe wait until that that for Carnival Cruise Line. Maybe wait until that peak around 11 a.m., 11:30, and if it's high. I don't know. It's just based on looking at these past 2 weeks. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can buy a put on that.
Then sell a covered call against your shares. Or if you think it'll go even higher, sell a cash secured put. I'll give you a good price for it.
Yeah, the beta on this stock is 2.2. So to my point last week, once everything quote unquote calmed down, these things caught a bid. So maybe artificially inflated. And personally, even before the pandemic, I wouldn't go on a cruise. I always thought they were kind of gross personally, but I'm biased, so I won't invest in them. Maybe I should buy or get some puts.
Well, hand washing has always been encouraged on cruises. It's just passengers find ways to dodge it as best they can.
A lot of it's for there's a lot of people who have never been, which is my girlfriend. So she's never been. So her sister goes every year, and her sister's got together like 30 people. I don't even know 30 people, but apparently her sister does. So we're all gonna go.
Awkward silence till the bell rings, I see.
There's nothing awkward about silence. I never understood why people needed to fill the void.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, opinion. Your room.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's better to have a little silence than nonsense filler, I suppose.
A moment of silence for all the money we've lost in our portfolios this last year.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what I was thinking. I was trying to figure out what price to sell cash secured puts on Ford. That's what I was looking at. So I would like to buy more Ford stock, but I would like to get paid to buy it. So I'm thinking $9. What do you think, Hardy? You think I'll get a fill on a $9 cash secured put on Ford?
How far out and at what price? You're going to get nothing for that.
You might be better served at the $10 strike, Scott. Or maybe look at like the $20 or $25.
Okay, let's take a look.
I'm sure like Bitcoin gets frowned upon over here, but any of y'all seeing like the bullish output going on with Bitcoin? Do y'all see it as like more of a bigger dollar display, or do you see it more as like something that would be close to gold, pretty much as a commodity.
It is not gold in any way, shape, or form.
I agree. I've been a long
Thank goodness.
But last week when you guys were talking about the charts, how bad they look, it was actually the first time I bought in like 6 months.
That's so funny, dude. I bought
at
them
18,000. It was perfect. So thank you.
Yeah, no.
As far as superior to gold is like a inflation hedge. You know, if you look at gold in 2020 and you look at gold now, you know, the price is almost flat. You look at Bitcoin across the same time, triple the price or quadruple the price, you know, which is in line with the fact that the Federal Reserve printed 80% of all the money in circulation within that same time period. So it seems to be moving pretty well in line with inflationary metrics of an individual currency. But the problem with Bitcoin now is since 2020 and China's exit from the crypto market, it's now just correlated with the NASDAQ. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, you might as well just buy a leveraged product that trades on NASDAQ or something. You'll get the same return.
Well, I mean, that's to some extent, yes. I think more so that's a risk asset, right? And so kind of what we're talking about risk on. So this is a risk appetite, I think, that you're seeing people come back into. I don't know. I don't look at it that way. But the one thing I would say about Bitcoin specifically is if you're going to be in crypto, just I guess know why you're in the specific crypto. Like I don't touch Bitcoin because I don't believe Bitcoin has any actual real value outside of being the first and the largest. And if that's why you're buying it and you want to own it because of that, that's fine. But there are a lot of other cryptos that are trying to do actual real world things. Whether or not they succeed in that, they at least have a mission and a drive to do something other than just be an asset. And so that's
you got to be careful. You got to be careful on that because so some cryptos are more like fiat with crypto lipstick, and then there's other cryptos that are authentic like Bitcoin is. So the ones that are fiat with crypto lipstick, you really got to be careful of those because they can print as many of those they want. They can create as many of those as they want. Bitcoin, it's mathematically fixed at this moment. So be very careful getting into it. We can have another conversation about crypto that's aside from this thing, and I think we should.
Yeah,
because I think there are a lot of people that have interest in it.
Yeah, the how it did match the NASDAQ there for a while, it was more the risk on, risk off. In fact, in the last 3 to 5 months, it's really decoupled from that. Not completely, but it was lockstep there throughout the pandemic, essentially. So I do agree with that. Look at the Fed printer go burr, right?
That was my main argument too.
We got 2 minutes left. Let's have some stonk plays instead of some crypto talk. I say this is called crypto who could talk crypto all day, but we do have 2 minutes left before the bell rings. Let's do some stonk call outs.
So Microsoft is improving their Azure product with OpenAI. So I'm curious to know to what extent that will buff their Azure revenues. I don't know if you're aware, but the API has been released, I believe, partially on the Azure platform. So you're no longer restricted to OpenAI's limitations.
Very nice. Very nice.
Also, a new round of layoffs will be coming over the next, I want to say, 6 to 8 weeks, especially as we approach the Q4 earnings reports. So in anticipation of that, I imagine forward guidance on a lot of these companies will be poor, and these are attempts by the executives whose compensation is stock-based to stymie any dip.
So if you like Microsoft for the AI, does that mean you would short Google as well since it's a search killer?
Keep in mind that Azure makes up a relatively small amount of Microsoft's revenue and an even smaller amount of their profit. But if Azure can go from an unprofitable loss leader to a profitable business unit, suddenly that's bullish and upsides for Microsoft.
Good, because I own both. Thank you.
Amazon's beginning their Q1 layoff starting this week into the end of the month.
I also want to point out there's a rumor, unconfirmed, that Bezos is coming back to Amazon because Jaffe couldn't do the job. We'll find out in, I think, 2 months. Also,
would you make that sell the news right there? Like, take the bump and run?
It's a rumor, so if you think Amazon can go even higher, by all means buy into it. Should the announcement come through, definitely don't buy.
Wild.
I almost feel like as soon as Bezos comes back, the company's going to tank. Like, what if he comes back and he just like forgot how to run a company because he's been so busy partying on yachts and stuff?
My $2 puts on Bed Bath & Beyond have gone up 20% at market open.
Good.
Nice.
If you guys still believe Bitcoin's going to go up further, just stick with Mara and Riot.
That's
Yeah,
not true
I
at
was
all.
gonna mention earlier.
If you think Bitcoin's going up, buy MicroStrategy because they actually hold Bitcoin. Mara
Or
and Riot
buy
sell.
Bitcoin itself.
No, Bitcoin itself, unless you self-custody it, there's no point. You're better off with a leveraged product. Bonus if you can buy options on MicroStrategy. Then
Yeah, but you're
leveraging
assuming that
leverage.
it tracks the underlying asset
It does.
appropriately.
It does. It tracks
Debatable.
it like 1.7.
Yeah, I'm buying calls on BITI with the anticipation that there will be some sort of regression back to a lower dollar amount on Bitcoin. I'm bearish on this current price movement, to be honest.
I mean, you're seeing strength across all cryptos essentially. So again, it's not specific to Bitcoin, but you have actually most other cryptos. If you look at it, you can price it to USD or you can price it to Bitcoin, and most of them are moving higher than Bitcoin. They're moving against Bitcoin more rapidly, if that makes sense.
I would just say watch out for the oil well plays. Like oil looks like the crude oil price is going back up again. Definitely do see and bullish on energy for the next 3 years. That's just me.
As a side note, I talked about a couple plays, I think last week, AY and BEPC for my long-term kind of dividend portfolio. I have it in my HSA, and one of them just got upgraded today. AY got upgraded. You have some interesting action on some good stocks, and Brookfield is kind of moving in line with that, up 3%, which is a pretty big move for a company of this size, and they don't move this much very often. Again, that's AY and then BEPC.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm going to rescind my previous play of buying calls on BITI, which is Bitcoin inverse. Not because I don't think that that's the play, but because the entire options chain has like 12 contracts open.
Somebody in there too, probably.
Yeah.
It's just one guy.
There's like no liquidity on this thing.
As a side note,
Let me see what I can
dividend,
do.
has anybody checked out JEPI? I found that I kind of learned about it this weekend. Just curious if anybody else has bought into it or knows anything about it.
Yep.
JEPI.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it
dividend
in
ETF.
got it in my boomer portfolio. Yep.
Okay, you did. I just bought I bought 9 shares this morning at open, and yeah, interesting strategy. Interesting. I don't know. I had to learn about it. I can't EPLs. Never heard of them. It was new to me. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, I'm a more of a SCHD fan. Like I like it because the expense
I
ratio
own
is
both.
lower. Oh yeah, SCHD. That is my go-to ETF. That is what my main brokerage is made up of. So
Yeah. So SCHD is just a straight dividend portfolio, though. JEPI invests in it's called I think it's an EPL, which is essentially mirrors a call right, like a buy right type strategy on the call side, as well as dividends as well. It's very unique, and it's very much more diversified than other covered call strategies out there. It's a very well structured fund, but it does have a high expense ratio.
Yep. Got both of those.
Well, it looks like, at least for now, Bed Bath & Beyond will remain allowed on the sub. Oh, never mind. Just refreshed. Never mind.
It's a moving target, eh?
Yeah. Hello?
Don't worry. It's I think it's gonna
Yeah.
fall to the. It's gonna fall. See, it's back in. It's gonna slide. It still has. This is Bed Bath and Beyond. It still has 50% short interest in it as of this Tuesday. So there's still a lot of people that have to cover. Let's keep on spiking a little bit.
Any guys checking out AMC?
No, but I'm long ape, so there's that.
Copy the ape. Still got my fingers crossed.
When are they supposed to merge, or aren't they supposed to merge or something at some point?
It is supposed to merge at a 1-to-1 conversion, which is the only reason I have any vague interest in ape, and I still think AMC is going to absolutely tank. They haven't put a date out yet. It's just someday.
Does anyone think that Tesla would go down underneath 100 in a few months if we have another big correction comes up in the next few months?
You'd have to have a lot of people sell Tesla, and there are a lot of people that are buying as it's going down. I don't know, man. I think shorting that stock is different because you have a lot of bag holders and a lot of people that love Elon Musk.
But there's also more and more EV vehicles that are being successfully created and successfully delivered.
Yeah, but they still have the lion's share of the market by
yeah.
a mountain. I've managed to stay out of Tesla the entire time. I'm too scared. I'm a pansy.
I don't think it's going to go below 100. If it didn't in the last month with all the volatility and all the, I don't want to say bad news, but him on Twitter and trying to drive that into the ground, he's kind of shut up about that. So the stock's kind of stabilized, caught a bid.
I actually feel much better about Tesla now that they've dropped their prices significantly. Being able to get a Model 3 for $38K now puts it much better in line with like the new Chevy Bolts than it was before.
Still not buying it though.
But it's not a function of whether or not you're going to buy it. It's that now the general consumer feels
They're
like
still not going to buy it.
I think I don't know, man. It's closer. It's a lot closer to the cheaper, quote unquote, EVs that the legacy dealers are making. I think it might have an impact.
I mean, it's pretty daunting that they dropped the price that significant, don't you think? I mean, is it really going to be that much more appealing, or are they going to continue dropping the price?
I think if you're looking at it, I'll use like the 23 Chevy Bolts as an example. $30K car versus $38K for a base model Tesla 3. I think the Tesla name might be enough to make up an $8K difference for a lot of people.
Wouldn't you agree it's a better car? Am I crazy to say that?
Yeah, I think it has a lot of features that, just like basic tech features that the other ones don't. It comes with the whole Tesla charging network. I'm not saying that like Tesla's the best company in the world, but I just feel better about them than when that vehicle was $46K. I think that put it in a different price range and was appealing to a different group of people than when it goes into the upper 30s. I think you're now pulling in a market that those legacy EVs were going to potentially grab at?
I think the demand is just so low right now that it's, the price is still going to come down, at least with all EVs. Not saying that I would buy a Volt over a Tesla or vice versa, but, the Tesla obviously is the better value here. Not disagreeing with that.
Did anyone else go in on a put for Carnival Cruise Line?
No.
Tell us about cruise lines. Sorry, I was just writing up about BBBY. Tell us about cruise lines.
Oh, I'm not sure really that I'm that qualified. I just play the swings, and try to do covered call riding. Like the guy that just mentioned, he wants to get more shares of Ford, and he wants to do it by writing covered calls. That's exactly my style. That's exactly the way I try to do it.
Opinion: the put play on Carnival was a Hardy play that he posted this morning.
Yeah, and
Oh, I see. I think he actually posted it yesterday night on Wall Street Bets. I think there's a thread somewhere. In case the hour that he posts it prior to market open isn't enough to digest that information.
Also, pointing out the obvious, but do make sure if you're going to do Hardy's plays, you also look at the price he states that he wants to buy the option at. Like, he actually says, I'm not paying more than this amount for it. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I feel like people buy, as soon as he posts it, and it's not anywhere near where the price he's recommending buying that.
Right.
Well,
I'm looking at his Ford puts, but he wants those for 30 cents. They're 45 cents. So, wait.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that technical. I think about it in terms of income streams, and also I try to measure as well as investing. There's speculators which also influence things, and it makes it slightly irrational. And so, if you take a look at the chart like Carnival Cruise Line, or also in the case of Ford, um, neither of these companies are going to go under, and they should be going up. So how fast should they be going up? And speculators here are going to cause jerky movements, and also very large institutional investors that start buying large chunks. This affects everything. So if something's gone up consistently, it's time for it to go down a little bit. It's not, my trading strategies are not very advanced.
So, I'm just going to say that something has moved is not necessarily an indicator unless you include why it has moved. A company that goes up 100%, but because they report 100% increased revenue, isn't overbought. It justified its move, right? So do keep that in mind as you look at movements. Don't just be like, oh, up big, therefore coming back soon. You need to know why these movements happen.
Right. Right. I try. I mean, I try to look into details, and I can read financial statements. It's just covering so many companies,
Well, I would still limit your companies, and I would just to kind of echo what Reptile was saying is price matters. So I would get to learn about that, both in the options and the stock market too, because that relative to just because it went up a lot, just because it went up 4 cents, doesn't matter if it's a 40-cent stock. That's like very speculative. I know you're not in that space, but there's a lot of reasons why price matters. So I would learn that too.
Also, if you ever say the sentence, there's too many companies for me to follow, then you're playing too many companies, right? If you can't at least put in like 30 minutes to an hour to at least stay up to date on the most basic of news for a company you're in, you're probably playing too much.
That has been, yeah. Generally, what happens to me is it's happened for a long time actually. Is I'll play a lot of swings and I'll end up with a lot of shares, and then something happens and I get rid of those shares, and then 5 years later, if I had kept them, it would have been awesome.
So I want to pivot to earnings. I don't know if anybody has any upcoming earnings that they're tracking. One that I was watching in particular was Silvergate Capital. They, on their earnings release, had a report net loss of $1 billion for the fourth quarter, and they shot up like 26%. I want to say. I don't know if this is an indication that earnings this quarter are going to be pretty solid.
What is the ticker on that one?
SI.
Don't give him any more names. What are you doing? I'm just kidding.
Its list continues.
In order to add this company, you must first remove 4 positions.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Tough love there. That's okay though.
Yeah. Oh, when I used to print out my portfolio, it would be like 4 or 5 sheets of paper, 4 or 5 sheets of ticker symbols all the way down.
I wonder if anyone has thoughts on Enphase. They have a kind of a over the past year they've been running. They have a history of run ups and then big dips. Starting in May, they ran up from 130s up into 330s in December, and then they dipped with the rest of the market over the past month or so. I'm wondering, could they see another big run up coming? They also have earnings coming up here early February. This is a play I'm considering. I wonder if anyone has thoughts on Enphase.
Yeah, I've been having Enphase on watch, hoping that it would drop down a little bit more, but it seems like it's going back up, and it's trending as such. So for earnings, it tends to beat. So it could easily hit that $300 range again.
Premiums are really high on it, though. It's like crazy.
Yeah, because everyone's anticipating, I'm sure, that it's going to beat earnings. It's going to go up. But, besides that, it could be worth just holding the stock if you have enough capital to make it worthwhile.
There's a chance for it to drop because of energy falling. I mean, natural gas is down, oil's down. A lot of these fossil fuels are coming back down.
I think it will, but I don't think until after earnings. Like, is it going to drop before and hit lower? But I'm anticipating that it's going to just keep running until after earnings.
Actually, I don't know what you guys have noticed, but in the past couple of weeks at Costco, anyway, the gas has gone from $2.59 to $2.79 a gallon for a regular unleaded. So
yeah, it's going
back
up.
Gas prices are slowly, at least, gasoline prices are going back up a little bit.
Anecdotally, I live in the Midwest where it's usually cheap too. We had a 80 cents a gallon jump in the last week. So just to add on. Yeah, it was 2 something and now it's 3 something. So, yep.
Damn. Glad I don't live there.
Yeah, we really didn't dip below $3 a gallon for very long in Indiana. I think we hit it for maybe a week or two, but it went right back above $3.
Yeah, it was a solid month here under $3, I would say. So it was nice, and yeah, it was a little bit of a okay, but not as bad as it was clearly. So, but I think energy is still investable. We've talked about that. Sorry, go ahead, Reptile.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I've seen a little bit of a gas increase around me, but nothing that bothers me. It's not like it's pushing towards $5 again, and I'm annoyed by it. And also remember, to a degree, the price at the pump lags over the price per barrel, right? So keep that in mind.
Well, it seems to lag when the price goes down, but when the price goes up, it seems to be instant. And also, apparently Russia and Belarus are conducting joint military operations that they claim are for defensive purposes only, but who trusts them?
So the natural gas ETF Boyle is up about 8%. I think it went up 11% at one point today.
I'm gonna be
You
honest.
mean it's down? Wait, wait. Is this the short? I'm boil.nv. Hold on. What is it just BOIL? Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
Boyle is
Literally just Boyle.
I think I was on the short one. I was like, what are you talking about? It's down 9%. Interesting. Well, it's natural gas has come down so much. It makes sense that at some point you would think this would go back up.
And that's what I'm trying to indicate, that I believe it will, and then of course end phase not be natural gas, but nonetheless I see it trending upwards as well until maybe a month after earnings.
I'm actually not that bullish on natural gas personally, which is going to put me very outside of the mindset, but I think there are better, or rephrase, I think there are other far more underinvested energy sectors that you could go into, like oil, which actually hasn't had exploration or popularity. So like the oil price could stay a bit higher because there aren't really new projects coming online versus natural gas, which Europe has been pretty open to natural gas as a quote unquote green energy. So there has been investment into the sector and projects coming online to a degree. So I could see natural gas struggling to pull as much without like a major war impacting its market.
Interesting you said that. I listened to a podcast last week from a guy by the name of, I can't remember his name, but he owns a company called Constrained Capital, who did kind of an anti-ESG ETF. So it invests heavily in oil and gambling and all these things that the ESG movement has shunned. And he made a great point. If they stop the exploration of new wells and stop the building of these fossil fuels, it's of the price of a barrel is not going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to make it so much more profitable for them because the demand. They're not going to stop. These third world countries aren't going to stop using gas. The demand is still going to be there, and they're just going to put absolutely ridiculous constraints on certain parts of it, which is just going to make it that much more lucrative for these oil companies. It's going to go to $1 million before it goes to zero, essentially. And I've never thought of it that way. That's why I said it.
And that's very much something that's been kind of happening in the oil sector is everything's pushing towards more renewable sources, which means a lot of companies don't want to explore as much. They're not looking for new projects. And so it's limiting the amount of oil production that can be turned online. I know people like to think, oh, the Middle East can just like flick a switch and there's a ton of oil, but not really. They're even like Saudi Arabia is like, we're looking at alternate energy sources because we think oil doesn't have a great future. So these projects aren't coming on, and it's going to hit that market.
But I wonder, might their efficiency in exploration be increasing with I have a friend that actually, this is just anecdotal. He works in Shell R&D here in Houston, and he's in software development and stuff. And I don't know. I could just see their efficiency. Exploration might not be as a wide range as before, but their efficiency in finding the best spots might be getting better and better, if you know what I mean.
So here's the ultimate issue. If you're today going to run an exploration project as an oil company, you're looking at 10 to 15 years to go from finding something to get it online and pumping out oil. And if you're an oil company, do you have confidence that the demand's going to be there in 10 to 15 years with the way things are going? Or are you hesitant on that move and maybe you're not doing as much? So yeah, they might be more efficient, but remember, they're thinking decades out, not just like the next few years when they're looking at those types of projects.
So I would argue that they see that. It's the political climate that is naysaying that, and they're being shunned for it. But I think most of these oil companies realize that we are not going away from fossil fuels. Like, there's no way. There's no way in the next 50 years, maybe 50, but 30 to 40 years, that we're going to move away from fossil fuels in any way, shape, or form, the way that I'm just going to say it, the Democrats in the United States believe that we're going to, and many people across the world that believe we're going to just shut off these. I mean, the third world countries, I mean, the people, India, China, I think Africa, South America. I mean, these people that are these places that have millions and millions and millions and millions of people, they are not going to start using battery chargers and battery powered cars. They are going to continue to consume in incredibly mass amounts, and actually probably increase their usage as they become more, closer to out of the poverty line. That demand is just going to shift to other parts of the country or other parts of the world. But I think they realize it, and they're just like, they're just biding their time, waiting for either I don't know what's going to happen, but they're not stupid.
This is it's a segue to the statement that you were making with green energy. I live in Atlanta, and there's a lot of concern about green energy and then community. So it's a segue into green energy, into having electric vehicles, and a little bit politics. And so they have authorized. I live on the east side of Atlanta. They have authorized and construction projects where they've added thousands of living spaces, and at the same time, the major roads that lead to the east, they have actually taken a lane out of the road, and this has to do with the people who are doing this. There's a lot of talk about recycling poop at the curb, and we have the recycling trash containers and so forth. Anyway, it's politically sided with some of this green energy talk. I personally think it's lunacy, because you're not going to get. They built too many housing they need to widen their roads, not shrink them. They're shrinking like 3 or 4 of the major ones. I think there's a
Was
meeting
it
of the
Peach
minds.
Street? Not to get you off your box, but was it Peach Street that they?
The 100 and 200 Peachtree streets we have.
Oh, you've heard that? Okay, good.
Oh yeah, it's all based on when you at a fork. There's a peach tree, and when you get to the peach tree, you take the fork to the left or take the fork to the right. So they named it Peachtree, and since then, they have gone with that. Actually, I think North Carolina grows more peaches. I think all the states around us grow more peaches than we do. There's one tree where all those names came from.
One tree. That's awesome. Now that's the joke I haven't heard. I dated a girl from Atlanta. She told me all the other ones, but I never heard that one. There's only one tree.
Yeah, it was based on giving someone directions. Take a left at the peach tree, and it was the main artery going through the town at the time. So also Atlanta, I live in what originally was Marthasville. And so when the railroads came here, I live where all the plantations were and stuff like that. And when the railroads came, they were like, oh my God, that's city and it's nasty. Build it away towards over there. And that's where Atlanta ended up. But
So-
this green thinking, I'm all for it. I think it's great, and I hope that people that are in the government positions make good decisions. But from what I'm seeing them tear up very important roads, and then there's already a sidewalk, but they're going out another 10 feet, and then they're building another sidewalk, and I guess they're going to demolish the sidewalk that's further away from the road now, because now we have two.
Well, I'm curious. So what's the play here? I'm sorry not to interrupt, but what's the play? What's the play though?
Long
Yeah.
fossil fuels in the long run, or don't be scared of going long fossil fuels, because there's been so much money deployed inappropriately. And again, I'll go back to the guy's. It's called Constrained Capital is his company name, and he's built these ETFs around where this ESG movement that is politicized and or moralized certain businesses. And then they say companies like Coke and Pepsi, who are the largest contributor to type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes in the globe, you know, these are the darlings. Microsoft, Google, these are these darling ESG companies, and it's like it's directed money and funds and flows into areas that really shouldn't be having extra money and flows. And it's, again, you might see this shift away at some point back into these companies that are seen as quote unquote evil, because they are necessary. And not only are they necessary, they are going to fuel the green movement, literally. I mean, that's wild.
And that is, he's actually saying my point. I'm taking a very convoluted way of getting there. The new stuff, it really hasn't. It's not quite in our infrastructure yet, and you have people who are making rules or making policies and making city planning based on thinking that it is part of our infrastructure when it's
So
really
you
not.
could short local bonds, water and municipal bonds. You know, you could short that if you really want to stick it to the man. Maybe, I don't know. Can you do? You can't short bonds.
Well, where I live, you should definitely short the city planners, because it's ridiculous what they're doing.
Anyhow,
do keep in mind, though, as I agree, by the way, with long oil is perfectly fine, but do keep in mind, regardless of whether or not you like ESG as a concept, regardless of whether or not you agree with climate goals as a concept, keep in mind, we don't make those decisions. Those decisions go to politicians well above our heads who are very committed to that, especially in like Europe as an example, right? So keep in mind, like, you may say, hey, you know, green energy is stupid, but if all of Europe says we're building green energy, then consider where the investment might go. But again, I like oil long because I think eventually it becomes inevitable. But just
I don't think nobody's downplaying the need for green energy. I think what's being upplayed is the misallocation of funds into this ESG movement based on the thought that these millennials want to invest in companies that have a good heart. And it's at some point, if that shift changes, it's not so much the government money that's funding this stuff. It's our money. It's the residential or the investor like us that is now going to say, you know what? I'm going to move my money out of these ESG funds that have underperformed for the most part and are kind of bogus. And we're going to start rebalancing it back into healthcare and all these other things that have been underfunded.
In short, everyone's getting ahead of themselves, is what you're saying, on the green energy stuff.
Well, that, and they're allowing themselves to direct their money.
So what's the play? What's the play?
Yeah, long oil, long anything that society is telling you is evil, essentially.
Or the play here would be look at some Washington green energy policies that in the short term are just not going to make any sense at all. It'd be great if the world was in fact going to do it, or if it operated that way, but not yet. It's not. But they're going to try to make it do it. Washington.
Yeah, so I've looked at essentially trying to buy. Is it XEL? What's the ETF for oil?
XLE?
Is that what it is? XLE? Yeah, I think that's what it is. I was looking at that over the weekend, trying to figure out how I want to diversify myself. He had a pretty compelling argument, and the argument to me was more on the in the oil side and the fossil fuel side, more so than like, you know, gambling and some of these other things that have been shunned, because these are already profitable. You know, the demand and the profit's already there. These are established companies, where companies like DraftKings and FanDuel, they're still trying to establish themselves as, hey, we can actually make money. So I don't know if I'm fully long his idea, but on some of these, I thought it was a really good. It made sense to me.
As far as companies go, one of the things that they have done here is, you know, those electric bicycles and electric scooter companies. I have seen them. I've seen one show up and then disappear, and then instead of just one, then you'll have 2, 3, and they're all here, all different names, different colored vehicles, different options. Pay with your phone, jump on them and ride around, and then they're gone, and then there's more names. But with the actions, I think that they are doing with the roads where I live on the east side of Atlanta, owning one of those things is actually going to start making sense, because there's a subway here, and there's subways.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to interrupt. So just to clarify, the ticker of this constrained capital is ORF as in Frank, N as in Nancy, ORFN. And you can look at his holdings and kind of get an idea of what his thought process is behind it. ORFN.
And I wish I had pulled the trigger on Enphase right when I was talking about it. Now I feel like I'd be chasing a little bit, waiting for a dip now.
Yep, I was telling you, it's bullish, man. It's going to continue. It's going to fill the gap up to 300.
Beyond is up almost 8% now. What the heck?
To the moon.
Speaking of meme stocks, I've been in BlackBerry. Surprisingly, it's actually doing really well.
There we go. It's up 9% now.
Ape is up green, and that's very important because it's a real company.
If it breaks 500 mil, we have to allow it again. How many announcement posts am I going to make today?
You know, you could just allow it until it stays like below that point for a day or two, just so you don't have to constantly update.
End of market, maybe, you know.
I mean, it's fluctuating like 20% in like a day. It's kind of a lot.
But I mean, you can make your life easy opinion and just say decisions will be made at market close, so you don't have to like constantly update on the hour.
That would make things easier. We'll see. Do you guys think that it's actually going to break 500 again today?
Would you be surprised?
Yes. No.
So save yourself the headache. Market closes when you make these decisions.
He's about to break 400.
Carvana is up 15% out of nowhere.
Spy broke 400 earlier for like a split second.
And I was definitely bringing up the idea to try to make your life easier, because intraday, that's a time and a place, right? Do it at close. It's better.
Let's be clear. Most stocks don't go below 400 million and then back up above 500 million in the same day. But I hear you.
This constrained capital index is interesting. Gasoline, nuclear energy, weapons, alcohol, tobacco, and gambling.
Again, the idea that these sectors where people are like, me smoking, and it's like, yeah, well, I make billions of dollars a year, and I give a 4% dividend. Like, come at me, bro.
I can see with the gambling stocks, it's like that's one stock where if they do too well, they will see a pushback. Wouldn't you guys think? Like, if
Well, the problem is they don't make money. Has DraftKings haven't had a profitable quarter yet? Like legitimately? Does anybody know that?
I don't know.
They spend so much in advertising and promotions that I don't believe when I was looking at them and when Kathy Wood was buying them, I was looking at them. I'm like, I don't think I can invest. I love this idea. I think gambling is here to stay, but they're not making money yet.
I wonder how. Like, how are they not making money? It's gambling. It's like simple money. I guess they're. I don't know.
I'm 90% sure it's because they spend everything they get on advertising and promotions.
Their ad spend is high,
good
but
point.
also, yeah, it's a lot of promotional stuff. They have to give away a good chunk in order to get people to show up. And even if it's not real money, even if it's like, oh, $200 in free bets, and that's not like actually money they're giving away, it's just shown in the platform, it's still like $200 less that I have to take from my account to put into them just to get me to show up.
Yeah, and then people just hop, right? Like the platforms are all good enough that it's like, well, I'll just go to this one that has a new promotion. Okay, well then I'll move my
Right.
bets to this one that there's no stickiness that has been found yet with keeping, your gamblers there.
One sin stock I've been following since June is RICK, Rick. It's the strip club business, and it has a little bit of a moat too. It's the only publicly traded strip club company, and it has access to capital to buy up clubs.
I did not know anything about this, but good Lord, it's fucking doubled since.
Yeah, I got
What
some
the
at 69. Yeah,
Their CEO is also a boss.
yeah, they're a cash flow machine. Like they make so much cash, it's insane.
What is
I've
the
just been
ticker?
watching them dip down.
RICK. It's only got a
Rick,
0.21.
that's the ticker.
Where are they
Rick.
reinvesting their money?
Buying more clubs. Like what I've been following them since the summer, and they have a couple of key things. Basically, they buy strip clubs from companies, from private owners looking to kind of retire. They have about 50 clubs now, and they say that there's about 500 there that are in their restrictions for buying, like 500 clubs that they could potentially buy up to. And then they have this other spin-off, which is called Bombshells. It's like a Hooters restaurant. They are probably at like 10 franchises on that, and it's doing quite well. That's kind of been like a sports bar kind of bro hangout place. And then they recently bought a casino up in Boulder, I think, or somewhere in Colorado, and that could become a good generation for them as well. They're in good position, and their margins are crazy.
You just triggered a repressed memory of a commercial for a casino in Colorado.
Have you done a lot of field research is what I want to know. How is it? How's the customer service?
Well, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I kind of look at them as recession proof, because they can always turn to the VIP side of things. They have clubs in all the major areas. So every year, when the Kentucky Derby comes, they make a lot of money in their clubs in Kentucky. Any sporting events, the Super Bowl, NBA games, all that stuff, they get a lot of money from high-end customers, right?
They're
As
generating
well as
almost $5 EPS, which is absurd for an $800 million company. Well, I guess it's almost $900 million.
Beaver, just a heads up, your mic is scratching your clothes or something.
Was that me? I'm sorry.
I assume he's just crumpling up papers in the background from all the visits he took to Rick's. He's just going receipt by receipt, just crumpling them up, throwing them away.
Well, there's a couple of psychological aspects to it as well that for my play, and I kind of say that the loneliness factor for the male side of society is going to continue to increase over the next decade, and the more lonelier guys are, the only opportunity for them to see women would be this venue.
I don't know. I don't like
Loneliness
that
factor. You got
statement.
You got Grinder that went out. You got Tinder that's out there. I mean, you got more opportunities to meet people today than you ever had in your life. If you're
Yeah,
lonely, a
You're
strip
right.
club's not going to help you.
What was
Strip
the
Well,
club is
that's
not going
true.
to help you.
What was the
shy
statistics?
guys. Shy guys. I think if you're like if you're a guy and you're gay, you've done some thinking on yourself about relationships, and so now you have a direction to go. But if you're
also
just going
seems
to
like it's thinly traded, which is interesting. The spread is 96.13 and 96.95. It's almost a fucking 80-cent spread, which is absurd.
Yeah, and the popularity will continue because statistically, I believe 75% of all relationships today have been formed from online meetings.
All I heard was Rick has a huge spread, and that just made me more bullish than I've ever been before.
Well, I think a lot of like the loneliness factor comes from either there's single men who work all the time in some remote area, and when they come home they have cash to burn and no obligations in their lives. And then there's the other side. My other play is curate retail, which is all the old women that are retired and have money to spend, and the only marketing avenue that speaks to them is the home shopping network. So you've got two demographics: the single lonely guys that make a ton of money working in God knows where for a month at a time and coming home, and then you have old women with a pension and a paid house and money to burn and just time to watch television.
Okay, just a question: do you own both of those tickers?
I do now. I just went in for
I
20.
mean, I have small positions in both. Yeah, curate is kind of my new golden.
What's QVC? What's the QVC ticker?
QRTEA. They make $14 billion in revenue a year, and their market cap is $700 million.
So I'm actually going to speak a little bit against QVC, and I'm sorry to have to do this, but do consider, because there was a good year and a half, 2 years, where people were kind of stuck at home, unable to go out, a lot of people bought the stuff that they want to buy already. People are looking for experiences now. They want to do things. They've already bought things, right? So that would at least be my view, is if you wanted something, you got it during the pandemic because you couldn't go anywhere, so you had money sitting around. And now you're looking to like actually go out rather than material possessions because
I'm
you've been stuck
confused.
at home.
What's the play on QRTEA?
I just think they're, cigar butt right now trading at $2 and
With a negative $7.21 per share.
They make $14 billion in revenue each year, and they generate a lot of free cash flow. Now, to counter that point that you were mentioning about the consumer, I think you're right. There's probably a lot of consumers that have bought already, but this is a special type of market. Their average customer is 65 and older. Their customer retention rate is like 90%. So they have this huge chunk of customers in the millions that buy almost, they said, I'm just going off the top of my head, but over $1,400 is the average spend of their top customer. And they retain 90% of those customers. And that their customers that they're retaining, every year they're holding on to that number. They're barely losing their prime customers.
Fucking boomers.
The boomers, yes, but specifically older women, because their customer base is affluent older women, and the marketing, there is no marketing that directs to them. This is the only one of the few marketing channels that directly appeals to those types of women, that demographic. And I think that next year, given the interest rates, that demographic is not going to be affected by a few swings in interest rates. They're going to buy the crap from Home Shopping Network anyway. And it's an effective business model. Like, it's a very effective marketing strategy.
Yeah. I do
and as far as that demographic goes, they're not the ones at an age where they can go out and have experiences because they can't go too far away from their doctor their dialysis machine, and their arthritis won't let them get out that much. So I mean, you're talking about people that aren't going to be as mobile as someone that's like in their 30s and 40s that's itching to get out and have that experience.
It's the loneliness factor. I think that demographic are they going to become increasingly more lonely in 10 years? Yes. And their customer likes relationships. That's what they said. And they develop a relationship with the people on the home shopping network. That is the key to their marketing strategy. And once you develop that relationship, you can sell them anything.
Yeah.
Sorry about interrupt. Best Buy, all right, or excuse me, not Best. Bed Bath & Beyond was up 20%. Now it's only up 15, but I know we have a lot of people in here with that. So go back to the old lady discussion. Sorry.
Another quick, there's a website that you can get like pretty detailed financial information, and I had it and I've lost it. What's a good one? I'd like to look that up in more detail.
Ticker has a good. You could look.
Ticker has got a bunch of stuff. That's
ROCI.
ROCI, that's the one. Thank you.
Yeah, look at them over the course of 20 years. You'll see how strong they are. I mean, I'd like to see someone else give me an opinion on it.
So I got questions regarding Rick. Does it pay dividend, and do they have any shareholder benefits?
The shareholder benefits, well, I mean, if I lived in New York, every earnings call, they have a meeting at an after party at the strip club. And they said, if you come by, mention my name or whatever, and you can come in as a shareholder. I think that the Rick CEO would probably come on WallStreetBets and have a talk, because what they're trying to do is get their name out there about how successful they are as a company, and their share price shows. Their volume is just so low.
Just like any strip club you walk into, if you hold 100 shares, you get a free lap dance.
Maybe.
The shareholder benefits. We had that show.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get some benefits there. Some shareholders with benefits.
That's not a bad point that he legit might come on. He's a pretty cool CEO, and he actually might, if Opinion reached out, talk to WallStreetBets. He seems the type.
What's the ROCI website?
ROIC.ai.
Thank you.
I mean, that is an event, going to the club. I will say that. Stop.
They've also have an app too that they're starting. It's called Admire Me, and it's a lot like OnlyFans. They haven't talked a lot about it the last few earnings calls because their developers were in Ukraine, but that's a possible avenue for some big bucks. If they could develop an OnlyFans type copycat for the dancers there, that could generate quite a lot of money.
For maybe at
like
VPN.
virtual strippers.
Like OnlyFans, basically. Think of OnlyFans,
Now, like,
but
you
inside
get
the strip
special
club.
pictures, and then like you get to find out what shift they're working at, what club, if they're on tour.
Didn't Playboy try to copy OnlyFans and it failed miserably? Didn't they launch that
A
months ago?
cross-country stripper tour. Now that would be pretty dope.
You're Rick, and do you have some clubs that you own?
I've only just bought shares long in Rick. I don't have that many shares, just a few.
No, I was just curious if your name was Rick and if you were, secretly the CEO.
No. I would like to hear about Curate Retail, though. Who are they talking to? I was going to look that up.
Yeah, opinion. Are you single, married, significant other? Because how are you going to convince them to allow you to? No, honey, this is research for the show. I'm going to have the CEO of the company come on.
Don't worry about Opinion. He spends most of his time researching Grindr for the sake of us. He's actually a really cool dude, so he can pull this one off. No pun intended.
Yeah, well, pun intended. Sorry.
For Rick, RCI Hospitality Holdings, what's likely to be their next move? They're just going to continue on owning these venues and take over other venues. It's something. There's something about that doesn't sound right to me.
Well, they've got about 3 avenues. They've always been acquiring clubs, and they've gone, when I started looking at them, they had about 40 clubs, and I think it's now close to 50. And they look at clubs that have a very specific return on their EBITDA. They follow a really strict mantra on that. And they mention it in their earnings calls about this William Thorndike book, which is about capital management. Anyways, there are 3 avenues. So the strip clubs, they buy old people's strip clubs they want to retire. You know, who is he going to sell his strip club to when he retires? He can't sell it to the bank. There's very few other people that are going to give them avenues. So they make deals with retiring owners. Sometimes they give them shares. Sometimes they give them paybacks, etc. They have Bombshells, which is a restaurant chain like Hooters, basically. They're just getting that going. I think it's about 10 restaurants. And now they're going into casinos. So they're making like a casino Rick club in Boulder or somewhere in Colorado. And they may kind of morph that a little bit more when they look into casinos. So casinos, Bombshells, and then the clubs.
Yeah, which if you look at their financial statements over the last few years, it's mind-blowing how well they've done. I mean, what an under their radar company that's just grown revenue, grown profit. Their PE is still, I mean, it's at 19, so it's under 20, and it's estimated to be at 13.9. No, it was at 13.9 in 2022 at the end of the year. Like it's I mean, it's pretty wild, boys. This is a nice little gym potentially.
Yeah, didn't you mention this a few months ago, or some? If you didn't, somebody did.
I have. I have been mentioning it a few times. I mean, I picked it up when it dropped around $69 in the summer, and now I'm trying to think like, what is a good dip value to buy in long? Like, I don't know if it's going to dip below $90. It just hasn't done that in the last few days. But that's what I'm trying to figure out is when should
$90 put.
I just don't have access to options right now.
Oh, okay.
I try to buy at dips, and if it dips maybe towards the high 80s for sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is a put option material.
I mean, if you like the stock at $90 and then you sell the $90 puts and you're going to get it for 90 less whatever you sold it over. So I mean, like a $90 put right now for May, you can get $7 for a $90 put right now, which is it's not terrible. It's 7% ish, more than that actually. So I mean, you'd be buying at more than a 7% discount to the $90, which is already at $96. So I mean, I don't know. The IV is pretty high for this company, which is interesting. I think it's just low traded, so it probably tends to be more volatile moves.
What's your opinion on Curate? I'd be curious to know, Crazy.
I'm looking at it. I just found out that Michael Burry bought 5 million shares last quarter, which is interesting.
He's bought before. He's had that company before a few times.
What was the ticker?
QRTEA.
Oh yeah, he had it in his last filings as well.
There was back in I think 2020, or maybe it was 2019. They issued a preferred share, QRTEP, at $100, and those shares are now trading at like $40, and the yield on them is something like 20. Must be in the 20%, but it was an 8% coupon or 8% preferred share set to expire in 2031.
Is he still holding a Geo Group?
I was holding it for a while, but I got out of it. But I think it's still pretty good. Just a little over my price now.
Well, I'm now, I can't talk. I'm now a owner of Rick at 95.80.
Nice, you're better than me. I'm at like 96.70 or something. You got a dollar on me, brother.
I feel pretty lucky. I got in at 69, which is kind of appropriate.
That's nice.
I mean, Rick sounds like it's a very profitable company, but like, I don't want to go to hell.
You won't. That doesn't happen anymore.
If only
Yeah,
Exxon doesn't
only
send you to hell, then how would this one send you to hell?
Why is Carvana up 11%?
No, but it's shit on my fucking puts.
Because when everybody, I've said this so many times, when everybody loads up on puts, you create a bunch of upward pressure, and then it pops, and then everybody scratches their head.
And then you buy.
And then what happens? You buy more puts, you create a bunch of upward pressure, and then it pops. You're creating your own squeeze.
So are we buying SPY puts?
SPY's a little too big for us to mess with, but we I'm not gonna say we, but people here who have gone into puts on Carvana and maybe BBBY might have given some extra upside to those moves. So people who are long can thank others at WallStreetBets.
I've bought puts on Carvana 3 different times. Every single time, I lost everything. Not a single one of them paid out.
I saw my
I
stop
still
loss
buying
at
puts.
15% and got out at I think I ended it losing like 19, so it's all good.
Yeah, I stopped buying puts when I hit $12.
I mean, I don't know if all the memes, but a lot of the memes are green today, and it seems recently, at least, to be green SPY equals memes have nice day. So I guess if you think SPY is going to be green, go buy memes. They return better percentage. And as always, works until it doesn't, right?
Any big new events this week?
That's a good question. What is going on? Any big? Let's find it.
One of them that I heard about was the debt ceiling. Everyone's freaking out about a default, but there's no way that's going to happen right now. And I think that was Thursday, maybe.
The debt ceiling continues to be
Never underestimate the stupidity of politicians.
The debt ceiling continues to be one of the stupidest things that the U.S. continues to have happen. What an incredibly stupid situation.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to raise the debt ceiling again. That's what they did last time. But if you look at when they did it last time, it was December 16, 2021. Shortly after that, you could see, if you're tracking SPY on December 16, 21, that SPY has come down a lot since then. Not saying it's correlation, but interesting to note.
So I think the crux on QVC is going to be its debt. Now that I'm seeing here, so it's I mean it's obviously fairly leveraged. You'd have to do some more research on what the interest rate on that debt is. where is that debt 100% inventory? It sounds like they've had some interesting things happen over the last year and a half that obviously I don't follow. That I was not aware of, including like a warehouse burning down and some stuff. But it seems like the debt is what is potentially going to be their demise. So if they can't produce a profit and pay down their debt, so I would watch for that. I'll keep an eye on this stock. It's interesting if they can get debt down this quarter. So I think last quarter, let's see what this says. 2022 it had like 4.5 billion in debt, or is that 4 point? I can't tell what the denominator is, but if they can start pushing that debt back down and get inventory levels in line, I think it's an incredibly interesting play for the next, like, I don't know, the next big boom, because people have money to spend, they're going to spend it.
I think the PMI data comes out on the 19th, right?
Oh, and as I'm scrolling down, it says their interest rate is as an average of 5.1 to 5.4%.
I bet you say. So bankruptcy, maybe? I should get a bunch of calls, because apparently that's the most bullish thing a company can do today, is say that they have no money and might go under.
Seems it.
Amazon layoffs coming. Are we bullish?
I mean, J Powell wants unemployment to go up, so good for SPY?
Right. I know Amazon, they're starting their layoffs this week, continue it into the end of the month. And then I'm curious to know what other tech companies are doing this quarter. I think Cardi said 6 to 8 weeks, right?
I was going to say, on a serious note, keep in mind that a lot of those tech layoffs come with some type of severance package, so they don't actually hit the unemployment numbers for a couple months.
Really?
It's not always, but yeah, a lot of times it'll come with some type of package on the way out the door, and then
That's still not necessarily true about the unemployment. It depends on whether or not they're going to be actively looking for work, because that's the definition of unemployment. If you are not employed and you are actively looking for work, if they want to take a couple months off, hats off to them. Some of them, if we're expecting unemployment to go up, they might want to try to get a job before they're all gone.
I should rephrase. It won't be a 100% reflection in unemployment immediately. Maybe that's a fairer way to put it. The numbers won't necessarily be a true reflection of those let go.
So really, Q2 unemployment numbers will be more apparent towards what our unemployment numbers are. Has Google done layoffs yet? Anyone know?
What was the question?
Has anybody heard that if Google has done layoffs or plans to?
I think a couple months ago, someone had said something along the lines of they were going to start cutting low performers, which was their fancy way of saying layoff. But to me, that's like bullish on top of bullish. They're cutting unnecessary weight off.
They always do that. I mean, like, that's a continuous thing. They also did layoffs at Verily, which is like their healthcare unit, and I think sporadically in other things. For example, they shut down Stadia, repurposed what employees they could. and I believe they let go of the rest. And I think they're probably going to do it again like that, just on a team by team or project by project basis. There's a lot of stuff in Google that has projected revenues far in the future, and I think that's the most at risk stuff. Other stuff you might see is them moving. They're hiring. I mean, they already have pretty much hiring freezes to everyone below level, I think level 5 and below. So you're probably just going to see hiring in their not top tier cities, which is, I mean, their top tier regions. So probably just like moving hiring elsewhere outside of the US, which they've already been doing, but they might speed that process up.
Yeah, I asked because I know Google was one of the main FANG stocks or tech companies that was still hiring through all these job freezes and layoffs. And then, of course, I believe it was one of the investors or someone on the board who was pushing for them to do some layoffs. But it seems like Google's still hiring nonetheless, which is weird. And then I heard recently that Geico, the insurance company that I hope folks are familiar with, that Geico, they are hiring a third party to come in and do interviews with all the analysts within the team, which makes up majority of Geico, at least corporate. And they're going to decide whether they should keep them or not, is my opinion. But from employees that I know that work there, Geico is the CTO sent that message out to all of their staff. And then I believe 48 hours after the CTO sent that memo, they were fired. So I don't know what's going on in Geico, but you'll hear more news.
I've heard they've also pulled some benefits and they're having some money problems.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to figure out why that is, right? Like, of course, there's the hurricanes and disasters of that nature, but everyone needs car insurance. What the hell's going on?
Well, it's not just car insurance. They also do property and casualty. And from my understanding, what other people, somebody actually mentioned, I don't know if it was on this call or one of the other calls, where they mentioned to be on the lookout for a lot of incoming claims from the two hurricanes that we had, as well as the weather events that are going on in California with the flooding and what do they call it? The air.
Yeah, you're cutting out a bit, but that's what I was mentioning, was that the hurricanes itself, I believe, was one of the main effects negatively towards the revenue of Geico, but not sure.
So keep in mind, when it comes to natural disasters, again, depending on scale, wind damage can usually be covered through FEMA if it's declared a disaster. It's any type of water damage from those that usually the flood insurance is handled on its own separate way, and that's what usually hits people the hardest.
But if it's declared an emergency to the government, wouldn't the insurance companies be distributed money back?
It depends on how FEMA's handling it. It's a long answer. That's kind of usually, but it depends on how the government's classified it and how FEMA's distributing funds and managing.
Yeah, because it's like insurance company has to pay out, let's say, $1 million, but it's Biden declares it emergency. Funds sent back to them, the insurance companies, of $1 million. So what are they losing? Of course, it's not that straightforward, but I don't know.
Well, those funds don't go towards the insurance companies. I mean, those funds go towards like picking up debris or power line. They go towards restoring after the damage. But if insurance companies are being paid to insure the properties, then the insurance companies are still going to be on the hook. They're not getting the money directly from the government.
Ape is up 6.5%. I know I keep mentioning this play, but as long as the gap exists between Ape and AMC, I'm still going to bring it up.
Please do. I'm driving. I can't check in on it. I love the updates on Ape.
Somehow I'm going to become the Ape guy, and that's not who I want to be, but here's my timeline. It's 2023. Not what my plan was.
It's okay, man. We're all apes. We're all apes, you know.
And it's time for me to do my covered call riding on Sundial. And I'll just be picking up 4 more shares for free.
How far out are you going on those covered calls? Just out of curiosity, because I'm doing the same thing.
Let's see. I just sold them for 4. I believe it's for Friday. This Friday. Yeah, let's see.
4 cents?
Yeah, 4 cents a contract times 3 contracts.
Bro, but who do you use as your brokerage? You're gonna pay like 60 cents to write the contract.
Yeah, 65 cents. Yeah.
You're losing money by writing that.
Oh no, 4 cents a share times 100 shares, so $4. So, $4 minus 65 cents. That's what I make.
4 cents a share.
Yeah, I guess that's.
Yeah, 4 cents a share. So
to limit your upside on a stock that could potentially. I mean, you're not going to make back your money. It's going to take you 25 months or something to make back any reasonable amount of money.
Oh, I have been in this for some time, probably that many months.
But if it takes off, you're gonna nick. I'm not sure that's a one that I would look to write cover calls on. But yeah, you do you. I think you'd probably be better off doing like. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times I look to Washington. Like I look to see if Mr. Biden is gonna if they're gonna push some type of legislation, and when that happens, I'll adjust. But what I can sell now that'll expire on Friday for 4 cents a share is just $3, right? I mean, I've gotten $36 for the same type of thing. So it really depends on what's coming out of Washington, what their how much anticipation people have. It works for me. I got like 600 shares of the stuff. That's after a 10-for-1 reverse split.
So
And,
Georgia, I just want to say you are. It tracks that you are long Sundial. I'll go with that. It very much tracks.
It's very what?
It does not surprise me that you are very long Sundial.
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing is, I don't smoke marijuana, and I don't even drink either. I'm just mellow by nature. So, the thing is that I had a brother that used to do all this stuff, and then there's people coming out of the army that I know that do this type of thing, and I'm like, I'm all for it. I smell it everywhere around Atlanta. So the thing is it's going to be a new market. So I'm just playing the new market is the way I look at it. And in the process, I just keep on picking up shares. I've been picking up shares for a long time. Just a few shares here and there, but it adds up. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe 35% of my holdings I got from option premiums at this point.
You know who else is bullish on Sundial?
Mass gamer.
Does that stock go bankrupt yet? Jeez.
Nope.
No, you know what? They their earnings, they post pretty bad earnings, but they keep on acquiring So they're posting bad earnings while they're spending quite a bit to acquire a liquor distributorship. So I mean, and so they've done multiple acquisitions. So their earnings is one thing, you can look at that, but there's more to the story.
And their earnings aren't bad because of lack of interest in their product. Their earnings are low because they're trying to establish or get market share and expand.
Yeah.
Don't they have Liquor Depot under their realm? Because I think some of their profits might have come from. Now, this is hypothetically speaking. I just know that in Canada here, in BC, that they sold it to the Angry Otter, and which turned all the liquor depots into
liquor depots on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So in BC, they sold it all off to this Angry Otter, other liquor distribution company, right? And then they've kept it in Alberta, and maybe some of the other provinces, the Liquor Depot name.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't all the weed stock plays essentially contingent on a full legalization at the federal level in the U.S.? Isn't that kind of like the event you're waiting for?
I would say somewhat, not all of them, because some of them are just situated in Canada, right? So, but there is quite a few. I mean, like we're talking, like obviously Canopy, Tilray, Aurora, but I don't really like Aurora. Period.
You ever checked out High Tide?
Yeah, I love High Tide. I do. I really do. Ever since they did the reverse split, I really like them.
That's the one I own, and I'm down. Obviously, like any weed stock, I'm down monster, but it's actually profitable.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, they acquire well. I do.
Now,
go ahead.
Well, on the actual shares of Sundial, I'm also a bag holder, but it actually doesn't really bother me because I keep on writing covered calls on it. And I keep on picking up shares. So.
Yeah, I mean, wheeling covered calls, if you're doing so like $3.35 a week times 52 weeks is $150 on what is it, 100 shares for $200 stock. You're almost, I mean, you can almost make your non-dividend paying stock, and it's a nice dividend. I do the same thing with Tilray. And in fact, I sell cash secured puts to acquire shares, and when those get assigned, and I also do the covered calls on them, and it's like you're getting a decent dividend on a low cost stock that it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, but if it plows through, if it jumps 25, 30, 40%, are you just going to say,
yeah, I already made, yeah, I mean, no matter what I would do, chances are if it goes up 40% on any given day, I would sell it anyways. And the covered calls that I sell, I'm already making, like, if they get assigned, I'm making money.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm making money. I'm making as much as I could. Like my average cost on is below the strike price of the covered calls. So I don't, if it's sold, I make a profit on this. I have the profit from the quote unquote dividend payment, and I'm going to go happy with that.
Also,
really cutting out there.
So just something to consider. I think that's perfectly fine, and that's a perfectly fine strategy. But do consider if, hypothetically, I don't think it's going to happen, but hypothetically, if tomorrow news came out that, hey, federal government's going to legalize marijuana, you're going to see those stocks take a giant jump, and you're not going to get any of it.
Right.
Well, amount of money that you make.
Well, you don't know. Well,
you would not. You get it.
There's two things though.
I get a little bit of it, but it's only if they're exercised, like only if they're assigned. And if I suppose usually when that happens, it's like, and then 2 days later, people realize, oh, it's not really that big of an announcement, and it drops.
it's going to be on the web, and it's going to be in the news before it happens. And the other thing is you don't write the contracts for all of your shares all at one time. You spread them all out, so you're constantly renewing them. So if you do miss a news item, okay, so what? You missed one. They still got 5 more. So,
Yep. Yeah. You have them on rotation so that they don't. Not all of them are subject to the same expiration date and strike price.
Right. I don't know why people would want to buy the covered calls without it actually being in the news, like without it trying to work its way through Congress either. It needs to, you need to get that bill back in there and get working for it to have it passed so we can get finance to these varieties of companies, and also at the same time, let's see, and also just declare that you're not going to have federal prosecution for users, consumers, or the banks. There you go.
Right. And so if you sell the covered calls at market, then the market makers have to buy them.
So here's two I wrote. Here's two that I wrote for like $36. So like, how you can, how you might swing trade. If something's in the news, you can write a leap, and right there which is what I did, write a leap, write a long-term expiration covered call, and wow, there's a good amount of money there, $36. But the thing is that news is not going to stick around, and just in my opinion, based on what it is. And I haven't covered this. I haven't bought it back, but I'm up 50% on it. I can just buy it back and then write another one that expires, in like 10 days or so.
Yeah, and on the federal level, any news that comes out of the federal level is, again, it's like the news cycle is going to expire pretty quickly on that, because the states are going to be, anything that the Fed does, all they're going to do is decriminalize it at the federal level, but the states left to make up their own mind on how they want to treat it. Just like with the abortion debate, it was Roe v. Wade was overturned, but that doesn't mean it's that states can't still implement their own laws to make things different than what they are.
That reminds me of the last reason that I decided to do this was the choppiness of all the different states and all the different political boundaries.
Yes.
What does it mean when this state does? What does it mean when? Well, it's to a speculator, they may not know. They also may not care. In which case, here you go. I have a leap option. I can buy back and 50% up on it, or I could just wait all those days.
Do keep in mind, while it would send the issue to the state level, any federal change in a law, then any federal employee now has that removed as a condition from their employment. So right now, even if a state has it legalized, you will still be fired for committing a federal offense. That would open that up to all those employees, just as a
correct
way to look at it.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if you're in a state where it's legal, your employer can still fire you for it, even if you have like a medical marijuana card. They had that issue in Colorado about 10 years ago.
And not just federal employees, mind you, any business that receives any form of federal funding. So a lot of schools, for example, couldn't, even if your state legalized, if the federal government legalized, could potentially open up. Not that I think schools would allow it, but just a lot of businesses that receive any form of federal funding, currently that they could lose that funding just from having employees who are using a federally banned substance. That would change. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's a look, if you want to put your foot on like the gas pedal or the brake pedal, and this is a good one. This is a good one for me because there'll be a lot of speculation and you can sell into it, And then let's say, I get called away but I still have, 400 other shares. And then as it turns out, well, you were called away, and everyone thought that was the thing that was going to happen in the whole marijuana, industry. And really it's not. It just was a news item. So
Having said all that, with a Republican House, there is a near 0% chance of any legalization until.
I don't need legalization.
Well,
I just need it to be in the
decriminalization.
news.
Yeah.
But I just really need it to be in the news stuff. I actually don't need the reality to happen. I just need people to talk about it.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, as far as you're not in the distribution game with marijuana and stuff like that, they're like even if you get pulled over, a lot of times they'll give you a warning, and they're not really arresting people for it the way they used to.
And not since I own a share of Rick. And what the hell? See how those two work together. Yeah, I saw this stuff all over Atlanta. It really is annoying.
I don't know. I love the smell of weed wafting through the air in the morning.
Yeah, I was never a big a smoker. I was never a big drug user. So I don't know.
Same. I'm just paraphrasing a line from.
I mean, I live in a state just north of you where it's still also very much illegal, and there have been times at my work because I load groceries in the cars where I was loading a car and I'm several spots away, someone else was loading groceries into that car, and because of the breeze, I could smell it. And I made the joke that I think this person needs drug tested because they definitely had some strong exposure. It was that strong of a smell.
I mean, I can drive right now to the post office, which I need to do. It wouldn't surprise me if I smelled it 4 times. And my post office, I'm talking about it's like New York City 3 blocks maybe. So I mean, it's everywhere here. I smell it on the road with my windows up. I don't know what people are doing around here.
Oh yeah. Well, Georgia gets a lot of sunshine. Good place to grow it too.
I think that's why we'll be like the last state to legalize it. Because that would be bad for the industry. And you can just toss seeds out the window and grow everywhere like kudzu.
Ladies and gentlemen, this feels like a conversation perhaps better suited for Discord. I think we'll wrap up here in maybe just another minute or two. Did anyone want to recap some plays they had for today? All right, well, if that's a no, then I guess we'll cycle on over to Discord if that works for you guys.
Thank you, Opinion. I'm so glad that we're back.
All right. Have a good day, everyone. Try not to lose too much money.
You heard the man. See you all on Discord or tomorrow. Thank you very much. Where's the end button here? Ah, there you are. Bye.